For female units that start as the spear-wielding soldier class in Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes, there is an additional path to go down other than the paladin lines that lead to the horse spear knights. If you wish to take to the sky alongside your trusty ride, you will eventually end at the swift and beautiful Falcon Knight. The Falcon Knight has a very unique playstyle that definitely deserves its own time in the sun. Let's fly in and find out everything this class can do. The Falcon Knight's mounted regular attack string consists of 7 attacks. You will swipe left, thrust forward, smash down, spin and swipe back the other way, unleash a flurry of attacks to your front, and finish with one more big rushing swipe. Your unmounted regular attack string also has 7 attacks, and since it calls back to the original infantry soldier moveset, it naturally is the same unmounted moveset of the other lance classes that grow on from that, such as the Holy, Dark, and Death Knights. So let's go ahead and jump over to the strong attacks that make this class so unique. Your first mounted strong attack actually comes in 2 varieties, one from simply hitting the button, and the other from holding it. This tees up one of the more complex aspects of the way this class fights. When you simply hit the strong attack button, the Falcon Knight will spin up into the air, taking enemies hit along with them. While midair, you are then able to utilize an airborne exclusive moveset, which only consists of a 3-attack regular string, and then a strong attack, second strong attack, and third strong attack. Your airborne regular string is a mini little flurry of attacks, at the end of which you smash back down to the ground. The first aerial strong attack is just an immediate crash back down to the ground. The second is a big spear throw, and the third is a stab back down to the ground and then a big hit. When you hit enemies midair with these, it goes towards charging your class action gauge, which feeds into the other version of this first strong attack. When you hold down the strong attack button, you will begin a spinning channeled attack while you continue to move forwards. This works very similar to the Trickster and Holy Knight's class actions. Compared to those, you move forward a little bit slower, but having this in general is just a good utility move for either clearing out an area, moving a foe around, or just building up your hit counter. Many of the later strong attacks put you into the air just like this first one. I'll talk about each of those in time. Your second strong attack looks a lot like your first, with you spinning into the air and then being able to access your mid-air attacks. Next up, your third strong attack will have you perform a powerful thrust. This is the first strong attack of 3 that does not end with you being midair. Fourth up, you will do an impressive fly up and then stab back down onto the ground. Despite how much airtime you get with this attack actually does not put you into your midair stance, so this is the second of 3. Next up, your fifth strong attack will have you bring together a tornado in front of you, which throws your enemies into the air as you ride it upwards and hit them along the way. This of course leaves you midair for your aerial combos. Your sixth strong attack is a simple little ride around and then a forward momentous thrust. This is the third of 3 attacks that does not put you into the air. For your 7th and final strong attack, you will spin your spear over your head, bringing both your foes and yourself into the air before swiping them away. Of course, this puts you into the air for mid-air attacks. From the sheer fact that 4 out of 7 of these strong attacks place you in the air, there is a definite flow to the way that the Falcon Knight fights. No other class relies on juggling targets more than them, meaning enemies that can resist a juggle can be slightly harder targets for you to fight. Because the mounted version of this class is kind of locked into this playstyle, on top of the classic flyer weakness to bows, means that the Falcon Knight may want to spend more time off of their mount than the usual mounted character. I did already cover the unmounted attacks of the base soldier playstyle, however I do feel the need to add in one thing that I forgot to mention in the Holy, Dark, and Death Knight video. When using the first strong attack, if you continue to mash the button, your character will continue to stab forwards, which builds up in intensity until your weapon glows red, after which you throw it out in a wide area of effect. With all of the Falcon Knight's attacks now covered, all we have left to do is examine their class abilities and then put everything together at the end. When it comes to your class abilities, first up you gain Alert Stance Plus, which makes it easier for you to dodge, which if you play as squirrely as I do, means that you will have a much easier time avoiding damage. Although it's not advised, this can give you a little bit better confidence when taking on bow-wielding enemies from atop your mount. The second skill that you gain is the very expected Sword Buster level 4, which increases your damage to sword users, typical of a lance. The Falcon Knight to me is a very interesting class, although I can't tell if that's because of the moveset itself, or just my own interest in Warriors games in general. I'm always fascinated to see the next way that Warriors games handle flying classes like these, whether that be Medley in Hyrule Warriors, the Pegasus Knights in the first Fire Emblem Warriors, or characters like Rivali or Teba in Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. Compared to all of those, the Falcon Knight is a pretty good incarnation. You switch quite frequently between ground and air combat, although I really wish that it was more of a switch similar to the way that Rivali played in the second Hyrule Warriors. His moveset really had a lot of room for improvement, but they just sort of went in a different direction here. At the end of the day, just in the Three Hopes meta, honestly, this is a bit of a niche class. Ingrid is by far the best for it, as her personal skill will proc constantly as you throw your enemies from the air all the time. I'm not sure that I would really recommend it for other characters when there are classes like the Dark Knight or Holy Knight. I guess maybe it is right that Ingrid is the only character specifically pushed towards this path, and she can certainly do a lot with it. Even though most other characters would probably benefit more from the Horse Knights or being a Wyvern Lord, the decision is ultimately up to you. Big thank you to my top Patreon supporters, Henry Gutierrez and Shin Lu, as well as to everyone else who supports me over on Patreon. Without them, this video simply couldn't have gotten made. If you would like to support this channel doing what it does, be sure to check out the link in the description or find me on Patreon under Shanebrain. Thanks everyone.